Back in the good old days, ice cream wasn't just a treat, it was an event. That's why it's a bit of a shame that some of the unforgettable ice creams from that time have since disappeared. Today, we're going to take you back and dig up some of those ice cream brands that brought smiles to our faces and brain freezes to our heads. Get ready to relive the glory days of ice cream. One Orange Maid. Oranges could definitely hold their own in any taste argument. So when J. Lyons and Company used them as a flavor for ice creams for their Orange Maid ice cream, it wasn't such a shock to see their popularity spread like wildfire. But that expression is probably very far from the comforting, frozen sweetness that these darlings offered us back then. It contained frozen orange juice and even did an amazing job when it came to quenching one's thirst. Orange Maid was ideal for the long, hot summers of the time, such as in 1976. Their biggest rival was Wall's Orange Fruity, and the two ice cream lollies marked an era for thirsty, tired kids. Lyons Maid also produced an orange juice bar lolly. The Orange Maid was part of Wall's larger Maid range, which included other fruity flavors like raspberry and pineapple Maid. But it stood out from the rest, mainly because of its sweet, tangy orange flavor. It tasted like biting an orange. And who can forget that simple, no-frill design? Sadly, Orange Maid suffered the same fate as many of Wall's other nostalgic ice lollies and has been discontinued for a while now. But it certainly holds a special place in the memories of those of us who enjoyed it as a childhood treat. Its tangy orange taste made it stand out in a world of other fruit-flavored ice lollies. Our next bygone ice cream brand was also a standout, and in the 70s and 80s that was a big feat. Two Funny Feet ice cream.
Uh-oh! Feet first! So open your mouth and put an ice cream foot in it. Strawberry flavor Funny Feet from Wall's.
Imagine someone putting someone's foot in your mouth. Gross, right? Well, that's what we used to think, until Wall's introduced their Funny Feet ice creams in the 1980s. Funny Feet was made from strawberry-flavored ice cream that had been molded into the shape of a foot and stuck on a wooden popsicle stick. The quirky design, complete with toes, added a bit of silliness to snack time. These strawberry-flavored lollies were a childhood favorite for many, many years, but were unfortunately discontinued in the late 90s. Thankfully, a Facebook-led campaign in the UK saw it return to production in 2013. Funny Feet had a creamy texture that was sweet but not too overwhelming for small kids' tummies to handle. It had this simple, straightforward flavor that made it an easy favorite. Even though it's since lost popularity, Funny Feet still hold a special place in we old schoolers' hearts. Our next treat also holds a similar fondness in the hearts of 70s and 80s kids. 3 Popsicle Fudgesicles.
Hey, how you doing?
Still got those popsicle ice pops?
A genuine article. Cherry, right?
Going home.
Me and Luchansky must have had 1,000 of these sitting right here.
Going home.
You having a good time?
Yeah. Memories begin with genuine popsicle, fudgesicle, and creamsicle brand pops.
Before looking at our next popsicle, we'd need to do a bit of history. So here's it. In 1905, Oakland, California, an 11-year-old Francis William Frank Epperson was mixing a powdered flavoring for soft drinks with water. He accidentally left it on the back porch overnight, with a stirring stick still in it. That night, the temperature dropped below freezing, and by the next morning, Epperson was shocked to see that the drink had frozen to the stick. It inspired something in him, something that would eventually become the idea of a fruit-flavored popsicle. By 1924, Epperson got a patent for his frozen confectionery. He first called it the Epsicle Ice Pop, but his kids didn't like that name, and so they made him change it to Popsicle. The Popsicles were originally sold in fruity flavors and marketed as a frozen drink on a stick. As time went on, ownership of the Popsicle kept on changing hands until it landed with Good Humor. It was from this that we got a whole line of frozen treats on a stick. The first of them were the Popsicle Fudgesicles. When they were introduced as the chocolatey cousin of the fruity popsicle, Fudgesicles took the ice cream world by storm, quickly becoming a fan favorite. A fudgesicle is simply a frozen dessert made with chocolate and cream. The chocolate can be either milk or dark, but most commonly you'd find fudgesicles made with milk chocolate. Over the years, fudgesicles have evolved to include a few variations, like the low-fat and no-sugar added versions, but the classic taste has stayed pretty much the same. Sadly, they're not so popular anymore, but that's not really an issue now that you're watching this video. Here's a quick recipe in case you'd like to make your own popsicle fudgesicles today. In a small heavy-bottom pan, combine sugar, cocoa powder, salt, and cornstarch. Whisk everything in 1 cup of milk until smooth, then add the remaining milk and mix. Cook the mixture over medium heat, stirring continuously for about 8 to 10 minutes until it thickens. Remove from heat, transfer to a measuring glass, and stir in vanilla extract. Let it cool for a few minutes, then fill the popsicle molds about 3/4 full. Cover them, then add your sticks and freeze for 4 to 6 hours or overnight. They should be ready by morning. Unmold and enjoy. Talking about molds, our next ice cream treat did not fit into the mold of what was expected from ice cream back then, for better or worse. For ice cream sandwich. Most time when you hear the word ice cream, what comes to your mind is ice in a cone. But what if I told you that ice creams could come in many different forms, one weird one being a sandwich? In Britain, these were called ice cream wafers, but here in America, we knew them as ice cream sandwiches. They were made of a frozen dessert consisting of ice cream between 2 biscuits, wafers, soft cookies, or other baked goods. Like we said earlier, the ingredients are different around the world, with Ireland and the United Kingdom using wafers and the United States commonly using cookies. Perhaps the most popular of these ice cream sandwiches in America was the Chipwich. It was created by Richard LaMotta and Sam Metzger in New York City in 1978. Their recipe was made up of vanilla ice cream sandwiched by 2 chocolate chip cookies, with the sides rolled in chocolate chips, which stick to the ice cream. It became the most popular ice cream sandwich between the 80s and 90s. But as time went on, it just kind of melted into oblivion. That doesn't mean ice cream sandwiches are gone forever, though. There are still plenty of brands making ice cream sandwiches today. That's why every August 2nd is National Ice Cream Sandwich Day in the USA. It's a tradition America has never missed since they started celebrating it in 2005. If you weren't a fan of the lighter flavored ice cream, you'd definitely have loved our next bundle of frozen chocolatey goodness. 5 Klondike Choco Taco. We're sure you'll always remember your first Klondike Choco Taco. The excitement you felt as you tore open the crinkly metallic wrapper to reveal the thin and crunchy waffle cone shell coated inside with milk chocolate, its brain freeze-inducing vanilla ice cream, and the thick and gloppy fudge top studded with peanut shards. It was a revelation. Like a sundae, but every bite filled with the perfect ratio of ice cream, cone, chocolate, and nuts. The Choco Taco was invented by Alan Drazen in Philadelphia in 1983, while he was a manager for Jack and Jill Ice Cream Company. Inspired by the boom in Mexican food around him, he felt that the taco shape had something fresh to offer to the ice cream business. So he ran with it, and by the next year, it was being sold in ice cream trucks all over America. It first hit supermarket shelves nationwide in 1996, thanks to Good Humor Breyers in Richmond, Virginia, who playfully called it America's coolest taco. And when they marketed it under their Klondike brand, they touted it as the original taco. It consisted of a disc of waffle cone material folded to resemble a hard taco shell, reduced fat vanilla ice cream, artificially flavored fudge, peanuts, and a milk chocolate coating. Choco Tacos were waffle cone shells shaped like a taco and filled with reduced fat vanilla ice cream. Add a drizzle of fudge, some crunchy peanuts, and a thick coat of milk chocolate, and you had an ice cream that all the kids were ready to line up at the ice cream truck for. Delicious, right? Wait till you see this next one. 6 Jell-O Pudding Pops.
Jell-O pudding pops, Jell-O pudding pops, frozen pudding on a stick. You know, Jell-O pudding pops is a winner with all the soapbox racers I know.
It is?
Mm-hmm.
The one thing that can make a sweet treat even sweeter is freezing it. And that's what General Foods did when they began producing their Jell-O pudding pops in the 70s. They had first originated in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, but it was not until the 80s that they peaked, especially after the Bill Cosby commercials. Jell-O pudding was a pudding popsicle that was more rounded and richer in taste than a fudgesicle and as delicious as it sounds. Introduced as all the goodness of real Jell-O pudding frozen on a stick, They were creamy and sweet and chocolatey, and were a huge hit among Americans back then, especially among kids who wanted to have a pudding popsicle just about everywhere and anywhere. In their first year, General Foods sold $100 million worth from sales of this sweet, and in 5 years, were already making $300 million annually from the sale of Jell-O pudding pops. So it was quite confusing when they discontinued the product in the 90s. Why would they suddenly stop making something that Americans loved and were ready to pay good money for? Well, it was mainly a production issue. General Foods wasn't a manufacturer of frozen foods, they'd just hit on this idea of frozen sweet pudding. And now it was becoming too hard for them to keep producing and storing this iced treat. So in 2004, they gave the license to Popsicle, who tried to revive the idea of frozen pudding. But maybe it was the name change, or the fact that the new popsicles lacked that X factor that Jell-O pudding used to have. They just didn't sell, and by 2011, they were discontinued completely. If you were looking for a little spunk in your ice cream, this next treat packed a punch in more than just its sweet flavor. 7 WWF ice cream bars, out of a partnership between the WWF and the Gold Bond Ice Cream Company based out of Green Bay, Wisconsin. The idea behind them was fairly simple. A generous serving of vanilla ice cream was sandwiched between a layer of solid chocolate and a cookie. But here's where things got interesting. The cookie had designs of your biggest, baddest wrestling superstars printed on top of them, and the whole thing was held together on a stick. The first series of the bars included popular choices like Hulk Hogan, Macho Man, Randy Savage, and Andre the Giant. But there were also some pretty questionable picks, like the Tag Team Strike Force, Tito Santana, and Rick Martel. Each bar would also come packaged with a WWF collectible trading card, sweetening the deal. In 1989, the Gold Bond Ice Cream Company was bought by Good Humor, but the partnership continued thereafter. Unfortunately, it lost its cult following, moving away from the arena's concession stands to home freezers. By the late 2000s, we stopped seeing these ice cream bars around. Sigh, if you thought WWF ice cream bars were a little strange, this next ice cream just might take you for a loop. 8 Fat Frogs. Fat Frog ice cream bars were the rave back in the day. Roughly shaped like a frog's face, they were made of eye-catching, brightly glowing, fluorescent green vanilla ice cream and M&M eyes. At the beach, at the zoo, at the mall, it didn't matter the setting, you just had to get a fat frog. On hot afternoons, kids couldn't wait to hear the jingle of the ice cream truck bringing it around the neighborhood. The science geeks, too, loved its froggy look. It made everyone smile. They were made by Good Humor, a company with a proven record of producing flavorful frozen treats, and this new ice cream just further proved that point. There's just so many wonderful memories tied to this froggy delight. The laughter of friends, the joy of a cold treat in hand, and the playful joshing. Blissful times, man. And it wasn't just the fun shape of Fat Frog that everyone loved. It tasted delicious, too. The fun, flavorful, fruity ice and 2 gumballs were 3 more reasons to love our Fat Frog friend. They even had a TV commercial that went this way. Fat Frog, croak, croak. Fat Frog, croak, croak. I've got chocolate candy for my eyes and a big green tummy for a yummy surprise. And then, one day, Fat Frog just disappeared. We don't know where to, and Good Humor still won't say anything about them. Our next ice cream treat was just about as unusual. 9 Screwball. Although today they might not qualify as ice cream under USDA guidelines, Screwballs were the ultimate ice cream truck treat. This iconic frozen confection first appeared in the 1970s and quickly became a favorite among ice cream truck fans. Imagine digging into a delicious ice cream treat nestled in a fun, conical plastic cup with a gumball surprise waiting for you at the bottom. How cool is that? Originally, Screwball was a product name, but as time passed and their success peaked, Screwball has now become a term for all treats like this, no matter who's making them. You'll find variations from popular brands like Asda, Popsicle, and Eskimo Pie. Good Humor even made a 2-ball Screwball, and you guessed it. Their version had 2 gumballs. Who can forget the delight of munching through a Screwball to get to the rock-hard chewy at the bottom of the plastic cone? In the UK, Raspberry Ripple is a classic flavor, and while the original two-ball screwball started with cherry, now you can find other exciting flavors like blue raspberry. Whether you're reminiscing about summer days or enjoying one for the first time, the screwball is sure to put a smile on your face. Isn't that just the sweetest treat? Talking about a smile on your face, nothing could brighten your mood back in the day the way this next ice cream staple did. 10 Good Humor's Toasted Almond.
It's Good Humor ice cream time. Chocolate eclair, you're looking good enough to eat. Yeah, Good Humor. The name will take you back, the taste will take you away.
It wasn't until the summer of 2003 that we all found out that Good Humor had discontinued their toasted almond in June last year. According to them, it had become less popular across the country, so there was no point in producing it anymore. But in its heyday, this cake-coated treat was all the rave. This special treat featured an almond core and vanilla ice cream coated in almond-flavored crunchy bits. Talk about delightful. It was the perfect summer ice cream to have at the beach. The perfect cross between creamy and crunchy toasted almonds were sweet, but not too sweet. So adults were usually willing to let the kids have as much of this frozen treat as they wanted. For some history, Unilever bought over Good Humor in 1961, and by then their toasted almonds had been going strong. So strong that Unilever decided to keep on making them, seeing them peak between the 70s and 80s. Yeah, there might have been a few other good ice creams, but nothing in life was better than the guy in the white hat and uniform reaching through the ice cream truck and magically producing that perfect toasted almond on a wooden stick. Talking about fruity treats, if you liked the sweet flavor of toasted almond, then you definitely have loved this next ice cream treat. 11 Friendly's Watermelon Roll. Watermelons are a fruity dream enough in themselves already, and kids always want to have one at gatherings. So when Friendly's started producing a line of watermelon-shaped ice rolls in the early 1970s, they became a really huge hit very fast. The Friendly's Watermelon Roll first made its debut in the early 1970s, and it didn't take long for it to become a fan favorite among ice cream lovers everywhere. It made perfect sense. I mean, who could resist a dessert that looked just like a slice of watermelon? And that funny name? It was such a fun and playful design, perfect for summer gatherings and backyard BBQs. Not only did it look super cute, but the flavors were a refreshing delight, with the mix of fruity, creamy textures hitting all the right notes. It quickly became the go-to treat when the weather started to heat up, earning its spot as a summertime must-have. In a shocking twist, Friendly's announced in 2021 that they would stop producing this beloved roll, along with all of their other rolls. Their reasons were flimsy, at least in our opinion and everyone else's. Apparently, they discontinued their ice cream rolls due to changes in consumer demand, saying they were focusing on ice cream cartons, novelties, and cakes instead. But honestly, we're not buying it. Fans were crushed over losing this beloved family tradition and have even started signing petitions to get it back. You can't talk about ice cream brands that people want back without talking about this next one, though. 12 Lemonade Sparkle. This next sweet tasted like a glass of fizzy lemonade, but was even more refreshing, and was an ideal choice for a hot British summer. Remember Lemonade Sparkle ice lollies? The better part? They were only about 12 pounds each. Such a bargain. The only downside? That paper wrapper. It clung to the lolly like glue, and you'd be peeling it off forever before you could finally dig in. But hey, for 12p, who was really complaining? These lollies were an ice cream flavor by Walls. It was a lemon-flavored sherbet with a refreshing and tangy taste, perfect for summer. The sparkle came from its light and zesty flavor, making it a fun and memorable treat for those who enjoyed fruity ice creams. It was part of the company's nostalgic lineup of unique and playful ice cream flavors. The sparkle element gave it a fizzy sensation, mimicking the bubbles in lemonade, which was quite unique for an ice cream. Besides the lemonade sparkle, there were orange and cola flavors too. But it was the tangy lemon flavor and fizzy, sparkling twist of lemonade sparkle that kids always wanted. Talking about ice cream staples that the kids loved, nothing made the kids gather around like this next sweet treat. 13. Cornetto. For years, selling frozen ice cream cones was tricky because the ice cream would make the cone all soggy. But in 1959, an Italian company, Spica, figured it out by adding a layer of oil, sugar, and chocolate to keep the cone crispy. Then in 1976, Unilever bought the patent and started selling the cones in Italy under its Algida brand. This classic design added a delightful flavor burst with the first bite, and it was from here that cornettos were born. From then on, they spread all over the world and became the go-to ice cream treat, especially in Europe and the US. Cornettos were made with creamy, dreamy ice cream, usually with a bit of sauce drizzled through it. Finally, they were topped off with some sort of indulgent, mysterious topping. And let's not forget the best part, the little chunk of chocolate at the bottom of the cone. It was the ultimate reward for getting through the whole thing. Here's a fun fact. These ice creams were so iconic that they even starred in Shaun of the Dead and other films by director Edgar Wright. Fans of the Cornetto trilogy will definitely know what I'm talking about. That's how much of a cultural staple they are. Talking about cultural staples, our next ice cream staple defined an era of treats. 14 Mivvy ice creams. Before Walls made their own version, Mivvy ice creams were originally made by the well-known brand Lion's Made. These ice creams were really popular in the US and the UK between the 70s and 80s. They had an ice cream center with a fruit ice outer shell and were available in orange at first, but later strawberry and raspberry were added as alternative flavors. What made Mivvy so special was the contrast between the cold, crunchy, fruity coating and the soft, smooth ice cream inside. They gave you the best of both worlds, fruity and creamy, all in one bite. It was a go-to treat during the warmer months, and for many people, it brings back fond childhood memories of grabbing one on a hot day. Although Mivvis disappeared from the shelves for a while, those of us who had it while growing up still have very fond memories. Some of us are even still hoping for its return, as it holds a special place in the history of iconic UK ice creams. Talking about iconic, this next ice cream was such a staple that it still lingers on in people's memories nowadays. 15 Walls Feast Ice Cream. When Walls first made the Feast ice cream in 1983, it quickly became one of their most popular products. The Feast is a popular chocolate-covered ice cream bar with a crunchy outer shell, typically made from chocolate and biscuit pieces, and a rich chocolate core in the center. The idea was simple. Take a chocolate ice cream and make it even better by layering it with different textures of chocolate. It became a classic for its unique texture contrast between the crunchy coating and creamy ice cream, and it has remained a favorite ever since. Over the years, Walls has introduced several variations of the Feast, including different flavors like the Double Chocolate Feast and the Toffee Feast. Unfortunately, they've become something that people are more likely to throw in the bin rather than their mouths. Many ex-fans are complaining that they've dropped in quality and are now just watery ice cream and chocolate with no flavor. Our next ice cream staple wouldn't suffer such a fate, and maybe that was for the best. 16 Cider Barrel Ice Lolly. This next British frozen treat became popular in the 70s and 80s. Cider barrel ice lollies, as their name suggests, were shaped like a barrel and had this really special apple cider flavor. They were very famous for their tangy, refreshing taste, which was really similar to the sharp, sweet flavors of traditional apple cider. Their iconic barrel shape, too, was one of the things that really made them fun. They were just different from the regular flat ice lolly. And like most ice lollies, they had that satisfying crunch when you bit into them, offering a cooling, icy bite with each lick. A cider-flavored ice lolly in a green apple-colored wrapper, which in reality contained apple flavoring and no alcohol, they were one of the more unusual lollies of our childhood. I mean, who would expect that kids would obsess over something that was so sharp and tangy? Maybe the real reason we all loved these ice lollies so much was the fact that they made us feel like grown-ups whenever we were slurping on them. Although, of course, they didn't actually contain any real booze. And of course, you can expect that Wall's biggest rival Lion's Made also made their own version. But nobody remembers those now. Wall's Cider Barrel was the truth. And you know what else was no lie? The next treat on the list was one of the best in the game, 17 Twister. Spirals will always get the kids' attention. Whether it's spiral-shaped straws, fidget spinners, or even notebooks bound with spiral, they're sure to bring giggles. So when Unilever's Heart brand made their Tangle Twisters in 1982, there was a lot of licking. By 1984, they had already become an ice cream staple in Britain. The lollies were made of pineapple ice cream and lime-flavored fruit ice on the outside with strawberry fruit ice on the inside. But the best part? These ice lollies were shaped in an eye-catching spiral. Licking a Twister ice lolly was like going through a whirlwind of flavors and textures. It was an amazing combo of the real fruity flavors of pineapple, strawberry, lemon, and lime. But there were also the contrasting textures of sweet fruit water ice and creamy plant-based ice cream, so that each lick is a surprise. There was even a smaller version called the Mini Twister. It was designed especially for kids and came in multi-packs. Some of them in each pack had the flavors reversed, so that the strawberry appears on the outside. Just last year, 2 new flavors were launched. The first was named Twister Fruit Zinger, a purple, green, and yellow fruit ice in a combination of tangy apple, sour lemon, and sweet blueberry flavors. And there was another one, Twister Pika Blue, a blue, yellow, and pink fruit ice with apple blueberry, refreshing melon, and sweet strawberry lemon flavors. But they just weren't like the original Twisters anymore. Sure, Twisters came with a storm of flavor, but the next ice cream on the list was celestial goodness. 18 Blue Moon ice cream. This next ice cream wasn't just any ice cream, it was a revolution. Imagine an ice cream with colors so bright and taste so good you felt as if you were in outer space. That was Blue Moon. Its origins are as mysterious and confusing as the galaxy itself, but most people pin its creation down to Bill Seiden. Bill Seiden was the chief flavor chemist at Petrin Products, a company based in Milwaukee in the 1950s. The recipe, which still remains a secret today, was first trademarked by the company. Since then, Blue Moon has gone on to become a staple of Midwestern ice cream culture. Today, it's inspired a couple of other creameries in the region, such as Kilwins and Hudsonville Ice Cream, to make their own versions, but they each keep their recipes close to their chests, and maybe, just maybe, the ice cream tastes better for it. But there's just something about nostalgia, isn't there? Now, quite surprisingly, no one can quite agree on what Blue Moon actually tastes like. Yes, everyone believes their opinion is the right one. Yes, it's sweet and creamy, but the flavor is often described as a mix of marshmallow, cotton candy, bubblegum, and vanilla, with a slight hint of almond extract. The flavor changes slightly, depending on where you get it, since different dairies and ice cream parlors each have their own take on the recipe. This adds to the mystery and magic of Blue Moon. Everyone's got their own idea of what it tastes like. If Blue Moon was a trip to the taste buds, then our next ice cream treat was a blast to the past. 19 Rocket Lolly. The first Rocket Lollies had been around since the 1950s in some form. Zoom, the original Rocket Lolly, first appeared in 1952, a time when space travel was all the rave. We all wanted to be astronauts back then, and TBS Lolly totally captured that childhood dream of blasting off into outer space. Some ice cream men even served them stuck into a regular ice cream. They'd be either referred to as witches' hats, because upside down the Rocket Lolly looked a little like a person's silhouette and the cone like a pointy hat, or pokey hats, presumably because it was a lolly poked in an ice cream cone. Funny. Yes, you can still buy Rocket Lollies today, they're just not what they used to be anymore. A story much too similar to that of our next treat, 20 Viennetta. Our last ice cream today, Viennetta, is a British brand of ice cream dessert. This treat was originally launched by Walls in 1982, but is now sold globally by Unilever under the Heart brand labels. It was popular for its signature rippled layers of ice cream separated by thin sheets of chocolate. The different flavors like vanilla and mint meant that there was always something for everyone. The dessert was created using a patented technique by Kevin Hillman and his team at Wall's Gloucester factory, where layers of ice cream were extruded at varying speeds to create the unique wave-like texture. During their advertisement campaigns in the UK, Viennetta's slogan was, "One slice is never enough." Talk about capitalizing on the people's greed. To celebrate its 25th anniversary in 2007, a record-breaking 74-foot-long Viennetta was made, and there you have it. Our journey back in time is over. Did any of these creamy treats bring back fond memories for you? Or maybe you remember a different treat that we didn't mention? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, don't forget to give us a thumbs up, subscribe for more nostalgic content, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a video.